Welcome back to another episode of Inclusion Starts Now, the podcast. I am Kayla, former teacher, para education specialist, and now mom of two, and learning to raise inclusive kids. And I'm so excited that you're here because today we are going to be talking to a former swim competitor who is now a mom and swim teacher. And she has done so much. And I'm so excited for you to hear about the importance of swimming and how we can also focus on teaching children who are neurodivergent how to swim. This episode is brought to you by breakfast because my stomach is growling because I am so effing hungry right now. So I am going to stop recording this podcast intro and go downstairs and eat some food. Enjoy. Did I push record? I did. Well, thank you so much for being here, Carrie. I am so excited to hear more about what you do. So before we get into that, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Carrie Meadows. I have been teaching swimming for over 20 years, but I've been in the swimming space since I was four. I won't tell you my age, but it's a long time. So I started swimming competitively when I was four, and then just kind of kept with it all through adulthood. And now I specialize in working with kids that are neurodivergent, especially kids on the spectrum.
Yeah, I had no idea that you could competitively race at four. That's amazing.
Um, yes. So my mom had to do a little bit of convincing. Not to say that I wasn't ready, like I had the skills and all of that. They were just, the team itself was a little bit hesitant about having a 4-year-old because they had never had someone as young competing. So I was swimming against like 6 and 7-year-olds
Oh my
at
gosh,
four.
that's amazing. I have a 4-year-old and
Yeah.
she does not know how to swim yet. Like she loves the
Well,
water, but
yeah, I think it was more of um, I've never been diagnosed, but I think that it was more of a ADHD type thing. My mom was like, "You got to do something with her
yeah.
because she needs to have an outlet for her energy." So I think that that's kind of how it happened. And then my brother was swimming as well, so it was one drop off, for practice.
Yeah.
It was like, "All
Oh,
right, both of you go."
I love one drop off. That is definitely
Yeah,
what I strive
right.
for.
Yes. So if your kids can do the same thing, then yes.
Yeah. That is so funny. So were your parents like swimmers at all?
No. My dad was very athletic. My mom not only hated water, but was like afraid of water. And I think that her mother kind of put that fear on her,
Yeah.
like water is bad, water is scary. And so she just had that mentality throughout her childhood. And even now, she doesn't love water. But I think what it was she didn't want her children to feel how she felt about water.
Yeah.
So she said, I'm going to do the opposite of what my mother did, and I'm going to just absolutely consume them with the sport of swimming.
That's great. I mean, I grew up around water, so I am very comfortable around it, but I would not say I like it. Like it's
Yeah.
like I would say like I'm a good sw or okay, so I'm from Southern California, so we grew up like going to beaches and
Oh,
swimming.
okay.
So I didn't realize, like, I didn't think I was a good swimmer until I met people not from Southern California. And then I was like, oh no, you guys are not good swimmers. Like, I'm not good in Southern
Right.
California, but like when I moved to Northern California, I'm like, no, you guys all suck at swimming. Like, this is scary. You should be better at this. You're adults.
It's funny, you either are good or you're not. Like I find that when I talk to parents, they're like, "Oh, I don't like to be in the water," or they're like, "Oh, I was a fish," and da da da. I feel like there's no really like that middle ground that I run into parents. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it is a generational thing. So if you're growing up and your parents didn't like water, therefore you didn't like water,
Yeah.
um, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. And yeah, it was I mean, we had our kids in Southern California first and we were like swimming lessons. Like you have to do this. There's so many pools. People go to the beach all the time. Like we were so strict with them learning to swim. And then we moved to Washington and we're like not near any water. And I'm like, okay, we can slow down. But we have now started swimming lessons back up because I'm like, okay, we have a 4-year-old who does not know how to swim. And I'm like, I think we like she needs to learn now. Like we need to make this a priority.
Well, right, and it's a life skill. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily like it's just something you should know how to do, no matter
Yeah.
your age, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of
So,
water
and it's fun.
like in the world.
Yeah, right. Especially like where I live in Florida, I mean, it's literally everywhere. Um, so I think that places like Texas and California and Florida tend to be more proactive about getting swim lessons just because of the amount of water around them. And
Yeah.
then it's a hot environment, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So true.
it's
But
yeah. So
it's
anyway,
important to take those steps to learn to swim. So
right.
how did you focus on swimming lessons for kids who are neurodivergent or autistic?
Sure, sure. So, I had always taught just, I didn't really specify of like neurotypical or neurodivergent when I was teaching. I think that I began to see the need with neurodivergent, especially kids on the spectrum. My daughter is neurodivergent. She's not on the spectrum, but she's neurodivergent. And I found myself having to get a little bit more creative as far as the techniques that I had to use to teach her how to swim. And I thought, well, dang, this is not a one size fits all type approach, just like with anything else, right?
Yeah.
Um, I found myself having to kind of give her the instructions in a multiple modality way, meaning she heard it auditory, she did it kinesthetic, and then she also saw it through a visual board with pictures and things like that. So typical swim lessons, it's mostly auditory. Okay, we're gonna do XYZ, and then you just do it. Whereas I think neurodivergent kids really need many different types of exposure of what they're supposed to do. Um, and then not only that, but building the rapport with her, even though I was her mother, it was a whole new thing, learning this new thing was like kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
So once I had her and I was going down the path of teaching her how to swim, I thought, gosh, there is hardly any places that specialize in teaching this population.
Yeah.
And so I did a slew of research. And then I also was a school teacher for 17 years and taught many neurodivergent kids in the classroom. So I just kind of molded both of those skill sets together. And that's where I am today.
That's so awesome. I mean, and that makes so much sense I mean, what you said of like, there's no one size fits all. I mean, that is literally for everything. And I just think it's so, when I am like arguing with people about inclusive practices, I feel like so many people are just like, you know, like they like don't want to do that sort of adaptation where I'm just like, it's not e like I don't feel like it's that hard. I mean, I would say the hardest part is to like accept that mindset of like people learn differently but then like once you accept it and start doing it, you'll start seeing like how like I just feel like it helps more people. Like you might have started this accommodation for this one person and then all of a sudden other kids are like, "Oh, that visual really helped me. Like now I get it."
Right. And even with neurotypical kids, the rate that they learn how to swim is so much more accelerated because they have so many different ways to understand what you want them to do. So it works. And the other thing I've noticed is um, experience from the instructor. A lot of times swim schools will have like an 18-year-old who really doesn't have a lot of experience with
Yeah.
that type of population. And really, they're just there for the paycheck. Um, so finding somebody that has the experience is so crucial because I just find that you might just be burning your money if you take them to so and so who is 16, 17, 18 and doesn't really have that experience. It's not very beneficial.
I mean, that's definitely, we were like at a community center and yeah, it was like kids home from college and I mean, it was, fine, but and it's also I think I
Yeah.
also feel bad as I used to be like a gymnastics teacher when I was in college and I just remember like when I first started being so uncomfortable that I was like, I don't know what I'm like I've never been a teacher like and then a kid's crying and you're like, well, I don't want to like touch them. Like like it's you like I'd have this hard so I was like, as the parent and former teacher, I was like, okay, like it's okay. We got that. Like I would try so hard to just like be okay with this like kid who, I don't know how much they like swimming. Maybe they were like on the swim team in high school, like who knows? Um,
Right.
but yeah, I
Well, you
just
don't
remember
know what you
thinking,
don't know.
yeah, I was like, oh, they're probably just getting comfortable with the water and we're paying for them to play at a pool without me in the water with them.
Right. 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 And that's another thing that as a parent, when you're investigating a place to take your child, you want to ask those questions like, first of all, do you have any instructors that have um, an extensive experience with working with neurodivergent kids, especially kids on the spectrum? If they say no, then move on to the next because you don't want
Yeah.
to spin your wheels and you don't want to put your child through that either. I mean, it's like the blind leading the blind. It's like,
Yeah. Have you ever thought of doing like a training for swim classes? Like for you to do a training on how to
So I
teach
do,
neurodivergent children?
yeah. So I have a webinar where I'm going to be training parents on the 5 essential skills that you need to teach your kid, that you as a parent can teach your kid that will help to prevent a drowning accident. So you don't need to be a professional swim instructor to teach your child how to survive a potential drowning accident. Because there are like 5 essential things that you can do that will give you the peace of mind as a parent to be like, all right, I've equipped them with these skills. So if they elope or wander or something happens, at least I know that they will be able to survive.
Yeah.
It's not
Where's
necessarily
the,
they will know how to swim, it's the survival piece.
yeah, where's the webinar? I'm trying to find a pen. What's the webinar going to
Um,
be?
it's 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 on my website and you can sign up. There's a little sign up button on my website at allkidswim.com. And then it's also on my Instagram as well. So it's a very basic and very easy to understand 5 essential skills that you can teach your kid, even in the bathtub, really. So if you don't have access to a pool, you can really um, start this in a bathtub, really.
Yeah, that is so cool.
And then I also do, yeah, and then I also do consultations where I develop lesson plans for parents to teach their own kids at home. And then we meet weekly online and discuss how it went, what we need to fix. So that really differentiating piece that I think you won't find in a brick and mortar swim school. You kind
Yeah.
of get more of the individualized approach. And you can absolutely teach your own kid how to swim. Like you don't necessarily have to go and hire somebody to do it because it is a financial burden, that's for sure. Um, but you got to do it. You got to teach your kid how to
Yeah, no,
swim.
you have to. I mean, at some point, I feel like most people are going to be around a body of water, whether it's like a neighborhood community swimming pool or lake or river or,
Right.
beach.
Right.
There's so much water. And I definitely know that I wish that I could feel more at ease when I'm around water with my kids because I'm just like, I don't know, like we were on a boat a little bit ago, like on a lake, and I was just like they wanted their life vests off, and I'm like, heck no, man, you guys don't know how to swim. And I mean, first off, you have to keep it on, but but they like really wanted to take it off, and I was like,
Yeah,
dude, I don't trust you at all on a boat. Like, no way. Um, but I think that is so good. I mean, so this podcast won't be coming out until after March 6th. I do really want to share,
that's fine. Yeah.
but I think this information is really important. So I'm definitely going to share your webinar beforehand. I might edit this part out just
Yeah,
because, yeah. But
that's fine. But especially if you have a child that is prone to wandering or elopement. If
yeah,
you have a child that is, you got to know these, you got to teach your kid these 5 skills
yeah.
just for survival purposes, um,
I had a
because
former,
that is the, go
that's
ahead.
the, I was saying I had a former student. Well, they weren't a student. I worked with them like in a different program, but I had a former kid that I worked with that yeah, that she was like out with her family at like their vacation home that they were at all the time, and something happened where she ran away because she got startled, and yeah, she ended up getting into the lake and not making it, and it was so, I mean, it was so hard for our community to see that. I mean,
I
they
can,
went to the cabin all the time. Like she loved the lake, um and I mean, I think that was like a huge part of the problem, that they were like, and they're always with her. Like it was such a random thing to happen, and it was so heartbreaking. So when you told me what you did, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like everybody needs to know about this and not just like, think like, well, it's okay because I'm with them all the time." Because
right. You
I can
can't
tell you that is
assume.
impossible.
You can't assume. Right. Yeah, I know, right? We're going to glue you to the side of your body, right?
Yeah,
You just can't, and I think it is the number one cause of death in all autistic children is drowning. And
yeah,
uh and it tends to be boys, and it tends to be children that are nonverbal. As far as the statistics go, boys tend to be a little bit more prone to the wandering and the elopement than a girl. That's why the statistics are higher with boys. Um, and the wandering and elopement is higher with children that are nonverbal versus ones that are verbal. It's just a sensory draw,
yeah,
I relate it to, as an adult, going in a hot tub. You go into a hot tub to relax and be soothed and just kind of chill. It's the same kind of concept that these children are drawn to that water for, that sensory stimulation.
yeah. Oh, definitely. How much water play I have done in the classroom, because I felt like all of my kids, all the students that I used to have, they all loved. I mean, it was usually like splash tables or like filling up sponges, and the
Yeah.
the sensory play was so big. And I feel like every family I talked to, they were like, "Oh yeah, we love the pool. Have to go to the pool every like it it's such a huge like positive experience for kids. So like why not make it super safe?"
Yeah, right, right. And I I understand why parents put their kids in floaties and puddle jumpers, but I wish that they would understand the ramifications of those.
Hmm.
because really those devices just teach your kid how to drown
Yeah.
because you swim horizontally, you don't swim vertically, and those devices put you in a vertical position. And so you're never going to be able to get in the quote unquote swim position. And so your muscles remember that. And so if
Oh,
you go into water without that device, your body immediately goes in the vertical position. Well, you're not going to get very far swimming like this, right?
yeah.
You get far when you swim horizontal. So those devices basically teach your muscles and your body and your mind how to drown.
Yeah.
It's
That is
crazy.
so I have also heard that doing puddle jumpers for little kids was bad, and I thought it was because just because it puts them in the mindset that they can float, that like they think, that they're like, oh, well, I'm
Sure,
safe.
sure.
And then they'll take it off and then be like, why am I sinking? Like it's like I thought it was just something so simple like that. But the vertical and horizontal, that makes so much more sense that you're like training your muscles to think that like this is how we swim when like
Hmm.
that's not.
Muscle memory. But
Yeah.
most kids, I mean, they will not jump in the water unless they have that floaty on. So the false sense of security, yeah, that's an issue, but I think it's more of you're training your body to swim in a vertical position versus a horizontal
Yeah.
position. I think that is where the big problem is because having to
Yeah.
I can always tell if a child has been in those devices versus one that hasn't because it's so difficult to reverse those um, that muscle memory. It's so hard because what happens is you almost have like a bicycle kick
Yeah.
versus a flutter kick, and you don't go anywhere with a bicycle kick.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's very hard to reverse those things for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, that makes so much sense. Um, well, because this is coming out after March 6th, is there like any great tips, like a quick, not like the full webinar, but like a quick
Yeah,
tip or two that you can
yeah,
give people who are listening?
yeah, for sure. So, and you can teach this not necessarily in water, but and I'm sure you can probably speak to this. Teaching your child to wait until an adult is ready to get in with you,
Yeah.
having a spot like where I give lessons, I have this like hot pink rubber mat where kids know that they have to stand on that and wait until I say it's okay to get in. So that whole, okay, you can get by the pool, but I know that I have to wait on this particular square or whatever it is that you have before I can enter. So that waiting piece is huge. And you can practice that waiting to, get on your scooter,
Oh,
waiting
yeah.
to get in the car, waiting to whatever it is. And the other thing is teaching your child as soon as they hit water, whether it's with their feet or as soon as they get into water, teaching them to immediately roll on their back and what I call airplane. So you put your arms straight out to the side and you just roll on your back and
Yeah.
and teach that. So as soon as you hit water, you roll over on your back and airplane it. And then you start calling out for help.
Yeah. I think those are two really great tips. The
And you can do that.
waiting,
Yeah.
that's so
The
good for
waiting
so
is
many things. The first thing that came to mind was crossing the street. We all the time,
totally.
I'm like, you can cross the street after you look, like, get to the end, look at me. And like, we usually have to do a thumbs up or like there has to be some
Yeah.
sort of conversation between me and them that I'm like, okay, like,
Or
yes,
signal or
yeah.
yeah.
And
That waiting
yeah,
piece is huge.
it is. I love that. And
And
then
and
going
you
on the
can
back, I do feel like that's what
you
most of
can do
our
that in
swim
the
lessons
bathtub.
talk about. They're always like they
Yeah.
want them to be more comfortable because I feel like that is kind of like an awkward position. Like I don't feel like kids always love to get on
Yeah.
their back in water. And so I think that would make so much sense to keep teaching that to get comfortable. Um,
And you could do that in
yeah.
the bathtub too. the whole like you touch water, okay, get on your back and learn to float. And there's different ways that you can, we'll go into that in the webinar, but of how to teach somebody how to float. Typically, the fluffier kids do better
Yeah.
just because they have the body weight and fat to float versus the more petite or thinner tend to have a little bit of a harder time.
Interesting. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's very true. Babies, that's why it's so easy for babies to, why they do like they call it infant survival rescue lessons,
Yeah.
because babies tend to be a little chunkier.
Oh
They
my
still have that
gosh.
baby fat. They have that baby fat,
Yeah,
and
that
they're
makes so
not
much
like tight
sense.
fitting yet. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my
So
gosh.
as you get older, like my son was so fat as a baby, but now he's like just a beanpole. So he doesn't float as well as he did when he was a baby. But
Wow.
he could swim, so and breathe on his own and all of that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
he is
like
a little trouble.
I feel like that's like basic science. That's like such I don't know why I've never thought about that. That
Yeah.
is so interesting.
And
Well,
and and heavier set people do better as well, same thing.
yeah. Wow. I love that. So interesting. What a fun fact of swimming. Um,
I know, right? Now you know.
yeah. Oh, I wanted to also ask about your webinar. So when this episode
Yeah.
comes out, the webinar will be done. Can people still like access it or see like a recording afterwards?
Yes. Yep. Yep. It'll
Okay.
be on the website for you to access at any time. And you can also contact me through my website or on Instagram if you want to set up like a consultation and kind of pick my brain a little bit or, anything like that. I always tell people that I'm in the business of saving lives. So I'm going to do what I can do to help you, no matter where you live,
Yeah.
to keep your kids safe. So number one, keep your kids safe, but then, then we can move into the whole swimming piece.
Yeah. I think that's so great. And I think a lot of people would benefit from that. Um, and I love that you do consultations and like online trainings because, yeah, I mean, that's so important. I actually don't know a lot of people who live in Florida. Can I ask where in Florida you are?
Yeah, so I'm in kind of the Tampa area. So it's the west central part of Florida. So if you recall all of the hurricanes,
Oh, fun.
that was us.
And everything's okay?
Yeah, so that's a blast.
Are you okay? Your house
Yes,
is
we're fine.
okay?
We just get used to it. Yes. We live on the bay side, so we didn't get a lot of storm surge or whatever, but it kind of goes with the territory. Same with California. You're probably used to the whole earthquakes and all of that. It's part of life here in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, that is yeah. And now in Washington, people keep telling me that we have earthquakes here and I'm like, "Oh, is that a thing?" Like I didn't realize,
Oh,
but
I don't know.
apparently there is. And I'm like,
I
"Well,
predict
no."
fires, right? Fire? Mm.
No, I don't, not really in Washington because it's so wet. It's like wet here all the time. So
Oh,
fires don't
right.
last very
Yeah,
long.
that makes sense.
California, I mean, that was one of we were kind of afraid of living
Yeah.
in Southern California because, I mean, the 30 years I lived in California, I was just like, how many fire days we had, how many, like, just fires around us. And yeah, it's scary. Um, yeah.
That
So,
is, geez.
but I don't even know about like hurricanes and all those. Like, I would have no idea if that happened. I would be just probably scared, very, really scared.
Well, I think we're just so used to it. And then not only that, but you have a lot of time to prepare and people go nuts, just probably like Southern California with fires and, the hysteria and all of that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Same thing. But you just prepare and hope for the best. That's all you can do.
Yep. I met someone on a plane once that I can't remember where they lived, but they were like, yeah, I mean, he was visiting California with his family and he was like, every time we do anything, I'm just afraid there's going to be an earthquake. And I was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. They don't really happen that often. And when they do, it's like a couple seconds. Like it's not really like something, I
Or
don't know. I'm like,
major.
it's really not that big of a deal. Like a lot of our buildings are meant for earthquakes. Like they're, whatever. So I was like trying to explain it. And I'm like, I really don't know how like you're near tornadoes and stuff. And he was like, well, I don't know. It's kind of like luck of the draw. It might hit your neighbor's house and your house might be fine. And I'm like, that does not comfort me.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, every state has something, right? So
Yeah.
I just think I've lived in Florida most of my life. I'm just so used to it that it's just like, all right, hurricane season is here. So it is what it
Yeah.
is.
So do
But
your
yeah,
kids do swimming
I
sports
was
now?
worried.
Oh, sorry. I think we're a little
I
delayed.
was
I
just
feel like sometimes it sounds like one of us we're hearing the other person later.
Oh, it's okay. No, this last hurricane, I was so nervous that my pool was going to be damaged. Like we have a screen over my pool and we have solar panels on top that keeps it warm, and we have a saltwater filtration system because it's so much better for your skin, and also sensory issues for my students. I was so worried that my pool was going to be just damaged, but it wasn't. And I was so excited. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
thank
good.
goodness. That's my livelihood, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So are you in the pool every day?
no. So I stop in October and then I pick back up in April. So I have kind
Okay.
of a long break. Yeah. Um, just because we do get cooler weather here, even though my pool is heated, the air is not. So, and a lot of people don't really want to take swim lessons when it's 40 degrees out, and I get it. Most people have
Yeah.
outdoor pools here. So
Yeah.
it's very rare. It's very rare to find even like a community pool to be inside. I can't even think of one actually. Most of them are outside. Like our YMCA pools are
Yeah.
outside. Our recreation center pool is outside, you know.
I was thinking
So
about our
yeah, we call
community
it
pools and
right.
they're mostly inside. We do have one that's outside, but like right now during winter, they like put this like dome
Park.
over
Yep.
it because the high school swim teams use it.
Oh, okay.
And so they do that because yeah, because it's really cold. It's like, snowing and icy but they're still practicing. I don't know.
That's like
We're
a
not
heat.
allowed to use it. We
Yeah,
can
well, it's
only
like
use
a
like the
heat
indoor.
blanket.
But yeah.
Gotcha. It's like a heat blanket. We have one too. We have one for our pool. So it just kind of insulates the pool just like a jacket would.
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
So cool. So much I didn't
But
know
I
about
still don't want to get in.
what?
I don't want to get in when it's 40 degrees out either. I tell my students all the time, I'm like, my cold water days are over. I did
Yeah.
a lot of cold, cold, cold swims, and I'm not doing it anymore.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I feel like that's probably why I don't like swimming very much because the act of getting out of a pool of like how cold it is and trying to warm up and dry off is not my most,
That's
and especially now with kids that I'm like trying to dry them off because they're so cold. So I have to like put them before me and I'm like, oh man, you guys, I'm cold and uncomfortable too.
right. Well, and the other thing to mention too is that um, kids learn, especially babies, you have to have a certain temperature, otherwise they're at risk for hypothermia. And you might be like, what? That's crazy. But it's true. Like babies need to have at least 88 degrees, and the ideal is 88 to 92 for a baby.
Yeah.
But even children need to have a warmer environment because it's soothing, and it allows you to focus. Instead of focusing on being cold, you can focus on what you're doing in the
Yeah.
pool.
That's interesting. I have always
So
noticed
having
that
that
our,
optimum,
yeah, I have always noticed that our, when we do swimming lessons, the water is so warm.
yeah, it
I
should
guess I
be.
didn't
It
really
should
think much
be.
about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hate cold pools, so I do
Yeah.
it for myself too.
Well, 88, I'm like, we just started swimming lessons again, and my husband's doing it with our youngest. And
Oh,
whenever
good.
he always is like, the pool is so warm. He's like, I've never been in a pool so warm. And now I'm gonna be like, well, I'm really smart. Let me tell you why it's so warm, because I have all this
Yeah.
information now.
Yeah. Well, you can't focus on anything other than being cold. So, and there's a reason why Olympic pools and during the Olympics, they keep it at about 80 degrees is swimmers call it fast water. It's so cold that it makes you go so much faster so you can get the hell out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 80
That's what
degrees. I can't
we,
even believe that's like
yes,
considered cold.
it's cold. It's cold. I know it doesn't sound cold, but it's cold.
Yeah.
But we
Oh
call
my
it
gosh.
fast water
That's so
in
funny.
the biz of swimming.
Oh man, any other cool
Because if you had the
lingo?
warm water, what's that?
Any other cool lingo we need to know for swimming?
Uh, hmm, I'm trying to think, but yeah, because if you think about it, if it's warm and you're, in the Olympics, it's like, oh, you're not going to swim as fast because there's no urgency to get out, right? You want to get
Yeah.
it, and it warms you up. Like the faster you swim, it's going to warm you up, just like any sort of other exercise. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things about swimming that I think people, don't know. Like the bathing suits that swimmers wear is they wear like these, kind of spaghetti strap, but yet it's almost like a whole bodysuit down to their thighs. And it's just to make you go through the water faster and be more seal like, if you will, just
Yeah.
more aerodynamic. Same with wearing a cap, you don't want the drag of your hair and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. So, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of like silly rituals that swimmers do before they race and stuff like that. So,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's a whole area that I just do not know much about. My husband did swimming and water polo in college and high
Oh,
school.
okay.
So he's super into swimming. And yeah, and I'm just not. And it's just funny that he because he lived in Fresno, like they don't have a bunch of water near them. But yeah, and I'm not quite sure how he got into it, but he loves swimming. And so whenever we go with the kids, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Like
It's all you, buddy, right?
I'm here, I'll be here with the
That's how my
snacks. You let
husband
me
says.
know when you guys are gonna come
Yeah,
back around.
yeah, right, right. You know, I always tell parents too is like, don't, when you're in the pool with your kid, let them experiment and try things when you're there. You don't want to be like, don't do this and don't do that. And you let them figure it out because that's a lot of what swimming is learning your body and what your body can do,
Yeah.
learning your breath control, how long you can hold it. um, just there's a lot of things that you learn by doing, just like with anything else. But you get to know yourself as a swimmer so much more when you are kind of more adventurous, if you will.
Yeah. And that makes sense with just like not having a fear of the water. If like you have a parent, like a caregiver that's just like, no, not like that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, if you're putting all these
Yeah,
like
yeah,
fears around it instead of
the
letting
fear.
them explore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the other thing I would tell parents too is go ahead and get rid of the floaty and don't worry, you can hold your kid in the pool. I'd rather you hold your kid in the pool than put them in a puddle jumper and watch them from afar.
Yeah.
I'd rather you be engaged with them because then they get the buy-in too, because you're in the pool too. And you can kind of do it together. So even if you're not a strong swimmer, as a parent, you both can get in there together because your child's going to see that you're going to try too, and it's the modeling of it. Oh, my mom's doing this too, or my dad is getting in too, and he or she doesn't love water, but they're going to go in with me and hold me, and they don't have a puddle jumper on me. It's just that whole modeling piece is huge.
Yeah. Oh, I talk about modeling all the time. Huge fan of modeling. It's
Yeah.
everything for teaching, for parenting. Like, if you want, when people ask me, like, what's the one tip that I'd give them to raise inclusive kids? I'm like, be an inclusive adult. Like, you need to show them how to be inclusive
Totally.
because how much my kids copy what I say when I don't think they're hearing me. And I'm just, is like mind blowing all the time. I'm like, they are watching me so much. So if I'm sitting here ever, like, and even behind closed doors, if I say something rude about someone, they hear it. Even if I feel like they're watching TV or playing their games or whatever, it's like they hear me say it. And it's like, if you want to be like, raise awesome, inclusive, empathetic kids, you need to be that human who's like showing them how to do it.
Right. Right.
So
Definitely.
makes
Definitely.
sense with swimming. And yeah, we have a splash pad near us, and all summer we went in. And I was trying really hard to plan it around when I was washing my hair because I have two small kids.
I get it. I'm the same way. That is hilarious. I'll tell my
Yeah.
husband, I can't go in the pool today. I just washed my hair today.
Well, that's why I asked if you
He's
go
like,
in
what?
every day. I was like, because your hair looks really nice right now.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, going in every day, that chlorine, all that stuff.
During the summer, during swim season, it's back and it's super dry. I mean, I condition the heck out of it. And yeah, I go in this pool every single day and I'm in the pool multiple hours a day when I'm teaching for sure. But
Yeah,
that's part of the job.
I know. I think I just
Because
need to
you're not going to have
accept
a kid
that.
want to go underwater if you don't. Yeah. That goes back to the
Exactly.
modeling. Like if I don't go underwater, this kid's not going to go under the water either. So, I have to practice what I preach.
Yep. And
So,
yeah, that's why I don't like doing swimming lessons with my kids. I'm like, I don't know. My husband is cool getting his hair wet every day. I'm like, great. I have bangs. It's a
yeah, it's
whole
easy
thing.
though.
I have to go blow dry them and wash them.
Right.
It's an
But men,
effort.
you just, right. I think another thing too that I want to tell your audience is stop buying blue and green bathing suits.
Oh,
Um,
I only heard about this last year. Please, please
yeah.
expand.
So it's it's the same reason why crossing guards wear that bright kind of like neon yellow and construction workers wear those vests. It's the same kind of concept. You want to, or a runner, you want to be seen, right? So
Hmm.
if you're putting your kid in a blue or a green or like a gray color bathing suit, you're not going to see them underwater. They're going to disappear. So that's why I wear nothing but neon in my swim lessons, and because I want to show parents that you can't miss me.
Yeah,
And so if you're at a pool party or a community pool, it's not only good to be able to see them in the water, but you can also see them outside of the water better from afar. Like, oh, they're getting ready to get on the diving board, or you can just notice them better. They don't
yeah.
blend in with the other kids. So it's just a safety aspect. It's a safety thing. Yeah, that's why I tell parents buy neon colors. Just do it.
I think that's a great,
Buy neon,
so
the
many great
oranges,
tips.
the yellows, the bright pinks, and whatever design you want, whatever. You're going to be able to see them above the pool or out of the pool and in the pool better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to share your webinar,
Oh yeah.
well, pre and post. people are listening now, they're gonna get the awesome recording and then hopefully reach out to you afterwards. But I definitely
Yeah,
want to post it ASAP because summer's, well, not come. What month are we in? We're in February. Summer's coming soon.
yeah.
Gotta get ready for it.
In Florida, it's next month. So spring break is a big first time in the pool for the season.
Oh
So
yeah. Our spring break is we sometimes get snow, gets some ice. It's weird. I'm still adapting to it.
oh, I don't even know what I would do. Like we don't even have boots or closed-toed shoes. I wouldn't even know what to do.
Well, we are, me and my husband and my kids, we're all very, very fair skinned. We are very pale people. And so living in California, especially Southern California, every day I had to put so much sunscreen on all of us. And we were all like, in tank tops and shorts and going to the beach. And I was so over all the sun protection. I mean, we had to have a tent every time we went to the beach and hats, like with brand, like how much work it took. So being here where there's like dark months, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like I don't have to worry. We'd make, sunscreen on the face or something. But other than that, I'm like, this is kind of nice that I don't have to be constantly putting you guys in sunscreen and all this stuff.
We're used to it. The best way to put sunscreen on the face is to buy a makeup brush, squirt it on the makeup brush, and brush it on your kid's face. That way, you don't have to put it on your hands. You can keep
Yeah.
your hands clean and you don't have to worry about it, get it in their eyes. That's what I always
Oh my
use.
gosh, my kids would love that. Okay,
So
that's what
just
we'll do.
buy a cheap makeup brush wherever
Yeah.
and just keep it in your pool bag or whatever beach bag and just squirt it or spray it on the brush and then put it on their face because they appreciate that more than your fingers. And then you're like, oh, where do I wash my hands? And then it's in my
Yeah.
eyes and the whole thing. So
No,
that's a
I
little
love
trick.
that. We're doing that this summer. That sounds great. Neon bathing suits, makeup brush. We are going to be ready for our small splash pad.
Good, good,
And
good,
if we
good.
make it out to the coast, we'll see. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. I end, as I was telling you, with my
Oh,
Mystic Cats tarot
yes.
card. So you could, if you have like a
Okay.
question, you can ask a question. Or if you just want to be like,
Okay.
how's my week gonna go? Whatever you want.
Do I have to tell you or
It makes it
is it
more fun.
like if I tell you? Okay.
Yes.
Um, hmm. So I would like to know, we are possibly going to, or I'm possibly going to homeschool my daughter next year for first grade. So I hope that we both stay alive through that experience.
Yes.
So maybe is this a good idea
Oh
or
my
not?
gosh. I think about this all the time. And what really is the only reason why I don't is because I don't think, and this is even why my oldest went to preschool at 3, that I was just like, I think you need another adult to tell you what to do. Like, I think you're having, like, you know me, like, oh my gosh. But I think about it all the time. I'm like,
Mhm.
if I'm ever getting really upset with the school system, I might just be like, okay, come on in, everyone. I'm retiring. Wait, no, I'm coming out of
Well, that
retirement. I'm not retired,
yeah, right.
but
I know, but I am just like, I just can't find a school. If your kid doesn't fit in a box, like
yeah,
they don't want you. It's like, ugh, how
yeah.
terrible. So that would be my question. So let's see what the
Yes.
cats have
Okay.
in store.
Let's see. Let's see. Let me know when you want me to stop shuffling, when you feel like it's right.
Now, now.
Okay. Let's see. We got what is this? 3 of Swords. Oh, it looks a little concerned. Let's see. Wait, I have my little I just
Oh
did this.
no.
So swords is supposed to represent air. So it's like ideas, like cognitive ability. So I feel like that's really on point for homeschooling. but it does look worried. I would say that the heart looks concerned, but I feel like your heart is like very much in the right place that you're like, I know what my child needs and I want to provide that, but I do think it's going to be an adjustment. Now, these are all my own suggestions before, I mean, I'm going to also read what the little book tells me. What did I just say? Three of Swords.
Okay.
But
I
that
have I have the ability with my teaching history and my teaching experience, but I'm still worried.
yeah, I mean, 17 years of teaching, that is very impressive. Okay. So it does say it's okay to cry. You could be feeling hurt. Feel your feelings. Don't hide them. Releasing your emotions will help you process. And after a good cry, try to accept the situation and move forward. But I mean, I know that doesn't sound like the happiest, but that really makes sense that your the concerns and worry that you have with school and that you want to be like the best to support your child so they can like have a
Mhm.
successful education. Like I mean, I would say that is like why I'm afraid to homeschool, that I'm afraid of the emotions that I'm going to have towards my kids trying to teach.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel
Oh,
with it being swords and it's like you I feel like you're making this choice because you know that your child needs the support and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. That's how I feel.
okay. 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 I'll let you know.
I know. Keep me posted because I think about it all the time. I'm like, if my kids aren't if the school isn't going to be able to support them, we're going to find a different way. And it might just be Kayla opens a preschool or first grade, whatever I have to open
Yeah.
to to give them what they need. But I think what is so good about being a teacher is that like you know the resources, like you know that it works. Like in the first thing you said about what you do for swim lessons was that like um all of these
You have to
different
adapt.
ways. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's
You
a
have to.
bummer when schools don't know, but we'll see what
Seriously.
happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing it when it comes out.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and I'm good luck on your webinar. I'm so excited for that.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Carrie, for everything. And if anybody needs information on how to access her webinar or get in touch with her, go below to the show notes and you will see her Instagram handle and her website to get all the information that you need to have a beautiful, safe summer. Seriously, I'm going to go eat some food. Have a great day. Inclusion starts with you, and I just want to help.